Okay. It makes a horrible screeching sound or something when you move it. So I was hoping to avoid that. Alright, let's get back to it. So, now let's talk about some bad guys. Got that. There we go. There it is. The Rinkin board. Put my blanket back on. It's cold outside. It's like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like just below 0 Celsius. Like -1. And it's also Texas. We don't get this kind of cold. Woo! Oh, here, let me change the ticker back while I'm thinking about it and while I'm gnoming. Okie dokie pokey. So I have here in my possession the majority of antagonists from throughout the series, not counting the movies. At least all of the major antagonists, some of the lesser ones, like the general characters, or more the direct assistants, like Goyon, but that's something special we'll get to. They're also very out of order, it seems. Oh, actually, I should put my camera back on. Hey, there we go. I get the feel. Yeah, let's stay down here. Let me shrink it down a little bit. Okay. I doubt we'll have that many Fs. Now, I don't have a script or anything, so we'll just go through them. I also have a few duplicates in here because I messed up the picture cropping. I'll just go... Normally, I would go in series order. You know what? Let's try. The little icons down here aren't in series order, but... damn it, I'll give it a shot. First, let's do the Pretty Cure command and see what it gives us. Come on, Nightbot, cure lovely. Okay. So we're starting with the original series and Max Hart. Jakku King. So... well, Jakku King was generic bad guy. He was the guy that was the bad guy and needed to be defeated. That was really that. But he was also pretty good at what he did. But he also didn't have any character. He had 0 character. But he wasn't a total failure like some of the guys who are on this list here, so we'll put him at D. He was a serviceable bad guy, but that's pretty much it. He was there to do his job. Now let's bump over to Max Hart. Oh, hold on. Let's put a little music on. I even set it all up for a little bit of music. Sorry, I got through the whole Hugto game without any coughs. This is Endwalker, Final Fantasy XIV, The Nautilus Knows. Or The Nautilus Knoweth. Sorry. It's the old Charlayan Knight theme. And I'll even turn it down a wee bit. Yeah, I think that'll... We'll put it on 35. I had it on 50. Okay. Max Heart. I'm kind of grouping all those guys in as one. Circulus, Baldez, and company. I didn't look up details on all of this before because, yeah, I can look it all up and then scientifically prove who's a better bad guy. But if you're a good bad guy, I'm just gonna remember you. And that doesn't happen for some of these characters, which is why they're going to rank pretty low. Let's be real. It's all about the impressions made. Get out of here. Okay. Circulus and company? I'll put them at C. Good bad guys, pretty good characters. Their character was that they do their job. And they did their job pretty well. They were trying to resurrect Jaka King. They had a little boy with them. Yeah, that's back when the series was more... not more shonen, but more the style. It was pretty close to shonen back then. Just fight the bad guys every week, that kind of thing. I mean, that's what they do now, but it has more of a unique identity, the series, these days. And I feel that the earlier on, the first season, Max Heart and Splash Star was kind of a little more general, but once we got to Pretty Cure 5, like immediately I felt the difference. So let's actually move on to Splash Star. Aku Daikon. Much like Jaku King, he existed simply to be the bad guy. But you actually kind of felt he was the bad guy. He showed up a lot more than Jaku King did, especially because he had Goyon working under him. And he felt like a real villain even if he didn't do all too much. I'm gonna put him at C because he's a chump. C for chump. Because then we get to the real bad guy in Splash Star. Goyon. He's an A. Goyon did his own dirty work. He checked up on all of the generals. He's like, hey, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing? How you doing? We getting it? Are you gonna beat the Pretty Cure? Oh, you're running a festival stall? You're doing that right? You're gonna beat the Pretty Cure with your festival stall? Okay. And he was on top. He is the bad guy who was on business the most, I feel. And when it got to the big confrontation with Aku Daikon, Aku Daikon's like, you can't stop me, rah, 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 rah. I'm big and bad. And he did something, like it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember the turnaround so much. That's what makes this, that's what ranks Goyon so high. I think like Aku Daikon ordered him to do something, Goyon's like, no. Because, you see, I'm kind of in charge. And it's not like he didn't usurp power from Aku Daikon. He was in charge the whole time. He made Aku Daikon. Goyon was the puppet master of this. And even Aku Daikon didn't know it. Until Goyon, like, split him in half or some shit. It was crazy. And I remember I was watching it at school between classes. I sat upright in my seat. Excuse me? You want to run that by me one more time? Oh, it was fantastic. And then he was the big bad guy. And he wrecked house. And I talked about the story twists and stuff, how was it the land of fountains or whatever? It was what he had been searching for the whole time wasn't some little thing. It was Earth's ocean. And it was right there the whole time. And he's like, how did I never see this? And the end of Splash, I wasn't big on Kaoru and Michiru. They're also pseudo bad guys, so they're not included here. I didn't count bad guys that turned into good guys. But I was also just never big on them. That was kind of a bit of a weak thing for me, period. Because then there's, oh, they're good guys now? Oh, they kind of have some of the pretty cure power? Oh, okay. But, no, Goyon? Oh, he was so good! The generals for Splash Star were alright. I don't have a lot of the general characters in this list until we get like halfway through the series and up, because that's where they really became like proper characters. Before then, like Hazard, the Kabuki guy from the first series, he was just a bad guy. He was there to get in the way. Sure, he was a Kabuki guy, but that's as far as that went. He was just an obstacle. But we're gonna start getting actual characters later on, and that's gonna be neat. So, Goyon, A. Hell yeah, for awesome. Splash Star, again, I'm gonna start mixing them up when we get toward the middle. I lose track around there. Next is Pretty Cure 5. And I have on hand right here Boonbee, who is an automatic S. Boonbee is the best. Period. I mean, come on. He takes a taxi to do all of his work. And when he's thrown off a building to his death, he suddenly remembers halfway down that he's really a giant bee man and just flies away. Boonbee is so good, he's my favorite character in JoJo. In part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, Okuyasu is not only voiced by the same guy, he's just Boonbee as a character, with a stand that can erase things that it comes in contact with. He just goes, phoom, and whatever he like passes hand through vanishes completely. I was watching part 4, and it wouldn't be weird if I mentally replaced Okuyasu with Boonbee at any given time. They are exactly the same, I swear. If you haven't seen it, JoJo, look up clips of Okuyasu. What is it? Okuyyasu? He is just Boonbee. I love him. And then Boonbee's come back a few times throughout mostly the movies for cameos. And he was in Pretty Cure 5 Go Go, where he actually did a whole lot more than in the first series, and he did quite a bit in the first series too. But speaking of the first series, the other bad guy we'll be talking about is Desperaya. And sorry, little thing there. Desperaya didn't do much. She gets a D, because she did show up at the end and she did fight. Desperaya was really the beginning of the main antagonist not doing a whole lot, or even being much of a presence. Most of the time, the main bad guy running things was what was his name? Cavalrino? The, like, creepy mask salesman guy? He was even in charge of Boonbee. He was like the COO or something. And everyone reported to him. And he mentioned Desperaya, but we didn't see her until the very end, where she was just kind of there. And then she got pulped. So, she's a D. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be seeing a fair number of those. Pretty Cure 5 Go Go had Boonbee, and he had even more character then. Because he was he left Nightmare and joined the Eternal Museum, trying to get a fresh start, and then, oh, now I'm just getting coffee for all these chumps. I don't have any of the generals from Go Go on here because Scorp was kind of cool. He didn't do a whole lot. I think there was a spider lady. Was the frog guy in Go Go or just 5? No, the frog guy was just in 5 because he's in the DS game. You see? Just unmemorable in the way bad guys. And the curator didn't do a whole lot. He was kind of like Akudaikon, sort of. We were introduced to him early on. Here, I'm going to put him in C, because he actually had the C for character development. We were introduced to him early in Go Go, and it was established what he wants. He wants the Rose Pact. He's trying to get to the Rose Garden. That is what he wants. And everything he tells everyone to do, Boonbee, get me coffee, that is to get him to the Rose Garden. He is a character with ambition. And I can respect that. And then we get to the end and he grows wings and shoots some lasers and then they beat him. He doesn't do a lot at the end there, but he is a constant presence. He has goals that we are aware of as viewers. And that's like 2 out of 3 for me. I can respect to the curator, even if he didn't physically do a whole lot. I'm looking at who's down here. I think we're going to start going out of order some, because I think next was Heartcatch Pretty Cure? I think Heartcatch was next. It's been too long. And we're starting that with the Dark Pretty Cure, who I'm putting at B. We don't have any motive for her. Her only motive seems to be being a bad guy. But she makes continuous appearances. She puts effort in. She kills Moonlight's fairy. She's hardcore. She's also Moonlight's homunculus sister, which I don't entirely get. Yuri's dad is a bad guy working for Dune, who makes a homunculus clone of his daughter, who turns out to be a bad guy, so they can... This doesn't make sense. No matter how you spin it, it doesn't make sense. But she's cool. She's always there. She is a constant threat. She's also 2 out of 3, like the curator. She's there from the beginning, and she is doing her job. We don't know why she's doing her job. She's told to do her job. That's pretty much it. But I can get behind that, and she's just damn cool. Which brings us to the main bad guy for Heart Catch, Dune, who I can recall literally nothing about except he wants to turn Earth into a desert. He also doesn't show up until like the last 3 episodes, when his comet arrives at Earth and he's got like the desert devils. He's going in F because he's ambiguous and he feels more like a boss swap than anything. Our bad guy was the Dark Pretty Cure up to this point, and we had the name Dune. And we had nothing until he showed up. Unfortunately, that's going to be something that is recurring on this list. If you, I'm not going to look anything up. Tell me, argue with me in the comments if you like Dune. Why? What did he do? Help me to help you. What was it? Fresh was next, I want to say. We've got Northa, Sauler, and Wester, because East became Cure Passion. I'm gonna put them at B, especially Northa. She was a real antagonist. She came in, she took charge, she was like, you guys, you're incompetent. I'm in charge now. She came up with the sort of Atases, and she achieved their goal. She was like, oh, Mobius is gonna be so happy. And she got work done. Girl came in, did it. They were pretty good. I've got to respect them as bad guys. Mobius sucked butt. He was a man in a chair who showed up at the very end when they traveled to the other Mobius future world. And that is literally all I remember. Did he shoot lasers out of his chair or something? I legit don't remember the end of Fresh. I'm trying so hard. Mobius was a non-villain. He was an antagonist. He was a non-tagonist. He was a bad guy in the sense that he was the head of the Dark World future. And existed only thusly. Yeah. Now I think I'm gonna skip a little bit. Because looking at what's available here, I double checked that I had representation for every series, but these are also out of order. So I'm gonna jump to Happiness Charge, because that's on hand down here. No, yeah, fuck it, let's just do Happiness Charge. Queen Mirage. Mid. Again, she was a character that we met at a proper amount of time. She was there the whole time, really. Talking with, oh god, I don't remember their names. The generals were better in Happiness Charge. They weren't fantastic. I want to say Mile was when we really started getting characters for the generals with Wolfrun and Majorina and Akaoni. And then we started getting characters after that, more or less. I remember the guy in the top hat was a bug or something, and it had Kim Jong-un as the military, like muscular Kim Jong-un as the military. That's what somebody I knew called him. Legit, we were doing the homestay for my school trip to Japan one year, And I didn't know it was Pretty Cure until later on because I hadn't watched it yet. But we were flipping through channels, and I don't remember his name. Oreski. Yeah. He was standing on top of like a hill, and the main characters were at the bottom of the hill looking up, and he was doing his bad guy ha 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 thing. And the guy, one of the guys in my group was like, why the hell is Kim Jong-un in this anime? And then he kept flipping channels, and I was like, ha, he does kind of look like him, sort of. And then years later, I was watching through Pretty Cure, and I got to that scene, and I was like, holy shit, it's Kim Jong-un! Why is he a Pretty Cure? That was a bit of a thing, but the generals were okay. They weren't character enough to even really warrant being on this list. They would have been put at D. They did their jobs. Queen Mirage, at least she had presence. So I guess really the big way that I'll be judging these, I didn't put together a judging model before, is presence. Were they there? How long were they there? Were they visible and actually present in the series? Not just like hiding behind the wizard's curtain. How strong was their motivation? What did they want? What did they do to get it? And the third would be, what did they actually do? Did they put in any real effort? Were they a man sitting in a chair like Mobius? So those are going to be our three main criteria, you know, now that we're this far into it. Queen Mirage, she was there. She had the motivation, revenge on Blue. And she kind of got around to doing things on her own. She was a little weak in all of the areas except motivation. Because she did all of her presence was all behind the mirror talking to everyone else. And I think she really only fought in one episode. But she had a proper backstory. She was Cure Mirage and fell in love with God before he shot her down. And she's like, well, then I'll be a bad guy. And she was properly motivated by that. I can respect it. So that's why she gets a C instead of a D. Red, on the other hand, sucked. He didn't appear until the end. We didn't even know he existed until damn near the end. I think Blue fought him? I don't even remember that. And I don't even know what he wanted. I remember... Did he want to be the god of Earth? Because Blue was, and I think Red was just stuck on Mars. Tell me if I'm wrong. And he's like, nothing happens on Mars, there's nothing here. I hate Blue. I wish I had his job. Was it that? That's what my brain says it was. And he just looks like Li Shu Wen from Fate. That too. He was a nobody who came in at the last bit after Queen Mirage. He did nothing. Next, we'll do Sweet because I'm looking at him. The baritone guys? I don't remember their names really. They were okay. Ultimately, the main baddie was Noise. I'm gonna put Noise at A right now, but I need to work through this a little bit as I go. Noise was there the whole time as an enormous fossilized bird skeleton, which is cool. An evil fossilized bird skeleton, which is cooler. brainwashing and granting dark power to those under his command. Yeah. The first bad guy was the king who was brainwashed. And then his subordinates were his subordinates, but brainwashed. Noise was the ultimate villain in the Sweet Pretty Cure events here. I really liked him. I remember that. He was just the antithesis of everything to the music kingdom. Oh, I didn't put Siren on here. Oh, well, that's because she turned into Ellen. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I knew that, but that's why I didn't put her on here. She was a big part of the early part of the series, too. Which is why I was so confused just now. Noise was there, and yet he didn't have a whole lot of presence. He was still active, though, even doing it inactively. And then he reincarnated as a little bird for like the second half of the series. His motivation was really just, I am the bad guy. But he kicked a lot of ass when he was the bad guy. I think I'll put him at B. If... Noise was the first bad guy that I actually felt bad they defeated. I'd have to rewatch Sweet again, which is never a bad thing. I'm gonna put Noise at B for now. Who has popped up on my little row next? We've got Smile. And I actually feel kind of bad that I don't have Wolfrun and the others queued up. They were... I said they were really the first time that we got characters as the generals, but that was also kind of a bit of a problem for Smile in that they were more characters than they were bad guys. They didn't... I mean, yeah, they were out there to do their job, but even when they were more just being them than being proper antagonists. I'd probably put them at... For sheer effectiveness at their job, I'd probably put them at D. And even as characters, they were a little flanderized. They just had their one or two traits, and that was just played up. Oh, there's Majorina. She made a weird thing. It's going to be a filler episode, so what's her wacky invention going to do when it goes wrong now? That was her. They were characters, but they also weren't strong characters, unfortunately. They did play well with the protagonists, with their characterizations. The only general who really stood out was Joker, and I'm gonna put him at A, straight out. He was there. He did his job. He did everyone else's job, and hot damn was he a character. Joker is one of my favorites, along with Boonby, but I feel like I can't put him up on S, and I don't exactly know why. maybe he wasn't really as personally involved until later on in the series, unlike Boonby, who he was introduced and doing his thing relatively early. Joker was more content to kind of push the work on the others and be like, hey, here's a new Akanbe, get to it. And he really only personally got involved when he had to. If he got his hands more dirty, then he'd probably be an S. But I still can't really narrow it, like pinpoint it. I feel that he should be an A+, but I'm not doing pluses. And on a similar note, Pierrot's a big old D. Joker has been working to summon and resurrect Pierrot the whole time. Pierrot even shows up halfway through the series, gets pulped, and then shows up again, and gets pulped again. He is a presence by name the whole time. Whenever an Akanbe appears, it shows the countdown clock and the Pierrot thing and all that. But he has zero character. He's a giant demon clown who shoots lasers. He shows up twice for a total of 3, maybe 4 episodes. And is just there to shoot lasers. Joker is 1,000 times more the antagonist than Pierrot is. And that's just pretty disappointing. Plus, I mean, dude, Pierrot could be so cool, but they really dropped the ball with that one. He was a bad follow-up to Joker, who sacrificed himself to summon Pierrot at the end there. Just a bit of a waste, that. What do we have next? Let's go to Princess, which I was actually rewatching a while ago. I got like halfway through it again. Straight off the bat, Desperaya ranks pretty low. I'd put her at D. Even when the main characters confront her, she makes Twilight do all the work. It's just pretty sad. Desperaya is there the whole time, but she doesn't really have any character herself, and she doesn't do anything. But she is the linchpin for Dis Dark, which is why she's not going to F. She's the bit that holds it all together. A belongs to Close. Close kicks so much ass. And then he becomes a Birdman. And then he becomes a demonic Birdman when he absorbs Desperaya's power. And Close is awesome. And he's got really good play with Flora. Close is another one of those characters that I felt bad when they beat him. Close was what they tried to do in a la mode and failed. More on that later. They tried to go back to it and it just didn't work out. Locke I'll put Locke at C. He was alright. He got a boost and became a pseudo main antagonist for a time. He never felt too fleshed out, mostly because he's a sentient demon hoodie. I don't know. Locke was okay, but he never shone as a bad guy. And rounding up the Musketeers, this is a bad guys tier list, so Shutt's going at B. As a character, he's up in like A+. But as a bad guy, he's just doing the work so Twilight will recognize him. He doesn't really care about what he's doing. He just wants her to look his way, and then when she leaves, he kind of loses it. Which is when his character begins to build up, and that's fantastic. Especially that episode where he steals that cicada's dream. I use that for like everything I can. You show me your tiny dream, and then it's the cicada and he's just flying and he steals its dream. It's the best. I love that so much. The princess wasn't afraid to get a little absurd now and then. Smile went a bit too far with that in some places, and that's how we got so many filler episodes. But Princess could get tongue-in-cheek some, and that's where Shutt came in, and he was just excellent. As a bad guy, he was a little above mid-tier. As a character, brilliant. You know what? I'll even put him up in A for that. Just because it feels right. Who do we have down here? Doki Doki. Oh man, I dropped the ball. I have King Jikochu here, who didn't do a whole lot, but he was kind of rad as hell, being like all chained up like Anima the whole time and being all spiky and stuff. That was pretty neat. I did not make things for the Jikochu themselves. They were a bit one-dimensional each. They were... The best part about the Jikochu was them playing off of each other and working together. Separately, they were pretty weak. Except for the main guy, was the older guy with the glasses. It was not Ira, not Gula. Was he Sloth? I don't remember anymore. But no, the best part of the Jikochu was them just being them. They weren't especially effective bad guys. Let's be real. Regina was the most in there, but she wasn't even a bad guy half the time. Doki Doki didn't really have strength when it came to the antagonist, did it? Now that I think about it. But I do still want to get a neon sign that's a copy of the one in the bar that says Go Go Jikochu. I've got to get one of those. I'd have to like custom order it. But I really want one. That'd be so cool. I've got stuff to say about pretty much all of them except Noir, who I'm also going to put in D. I've said it before, I wasn't the biggest fan of a la mode. I liked the first half well enough. And then just when it seemed like Noir was about to become a real character, we got his backstory. He was in love with that Patissier chick. And then that all went wrong and he just like lost his shit. And then that second batch of generals came in with Grave and whoever the other guys were. The completely memorable other guys. And I don't know, it just lost traction for me. I didn't like any of the generals after that. And then that guy who's not the main villain from Skyward Sword was like, oh, now I've got your power, Noir. And he tried to be like New Clothes, but he sucked. I don't have any of them because I didn't like them. I can't even put them in F. Just screw those guys. And the ones earlier in the series, what was it? The Parfai's brother, whose name I don't remember, was like a brainwashed bad guy. And that girl with the teddy bear and the pigtails who isn't Lanael from Guided Fate Paradox. Her name starts with was it Bieberty? Was that it? She was okay, but she was a pretty weak antagonist. Alamod was another one of those that just didn't have any strong opposing forces. And then they tried to make it up with like Grave and his super hot rod later on, and I was like, I guess Grave's kind of cool. And then they just like offed him, and I was like, oh, whatever, screw this. No, and no. So let's get to the good stuff, shall we? Oh, I beansed healing good a little bit too. I've got King Byogen here, who I'm going to put at D. He was always present, in a way. The Byogen would speak to him and get their work from him. I do not have them as things. I totally forgot to add them. They were damn good. I'd put them at B collectively. Except the rat guy. I kind of hated the rat guy. He'd be like C. Screw the rat guy. But no, the Byogen, just totally together there, B. Totally. I wish I had a thing for them. I dropped the ball on that one. Especially the way they tied in with the protagonist. That whole way. It was... The Byogen were good. Oh, I skipped one. Oh wait, no I didn't. We didn't get to Mahotsukai Pretty Cure yet. So let's do it now. I got a little mixed up there. Dokurokushi was awesome. B. He was an undead revenant with the power of black magic who wanted revenge against the headmaster of the school that the main characters are going to. That's badass. He was there doing his job, casting his black magic. That's badass. And he's an undead bone man, which is badass. The problem was they killed him off, which isn't really an issue in terms of a show because he's undead. But he was so cool! And then he wasn't because he didn't exist anymore. He continued on a little bit when his little lizard guy, Toady, that used his physical remains to summon the monsters, which is so rad. And I mean, I think he was trying to revive Dokurokushi, or he was just getting revenge on the Pretty Cure, because he was using the remains for it, and that was cool. The problem was that the main antagonists that they tried to bring in at that time were those genie guys, and they sucked. I hated those genie guys. They were, what were the Muho guys? I found no redeeming factors about them. They were just uninteresting. I like that they had their artifacts that they were sealed in, but that was really it. They didn't have intriguing character traits. It was all just, Deus Masters arriving, Deus Masters arriving, Deus Masters arriving! And then Deus Mast showed up and did fuck all. He was essentially Galactus. He showed up, he was like, I'm gonna consume the earth, and then he got beat. One episode. Maybe two, if he appeared right at the end of the prior one. Deus Mast should have been this. They tried to build him up, but again, his cronies weren't interesting. Oh, I almost unplugged my camera by accident. I thought there was something else, and I was gonna unplug the capture card while I was talking. Yeah, it was just like, oh, Deus Mast is coming, Deus Mast is coming. And I was like, okay, I don't really care. And then Deus Mast came, and oh, I don't really care. The arrival of a Galactus type being should be a lot more than Mahotsukai made it to be. They had good build up to the end for the series, but just that whole middle part really fell flat for me, like I was saying. Really good start with Dokurokushi. The story picked up near the end, but those Muho guys and Deus Mast just... Why am I pointing on the screen? I have capture cursor on. Oh no! Oh, it's already 10 o'clock. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 series left. It's hard to tell because I have some doubles for pictures. So next we will go to Hugto. I don't have the generals in here because, they were people. They were people. The real one to talk about is George. Dr. Traum was... I'd put him at C. He had presence, he did a fair bit, he made Lulu. But his motivations were just help George. And that was really it. Help George and maintain Lulu. And then she ran away. And then he was like, oh, build robot. Traum could have been a lot more, but he was just quickly pushed to the side when Lulu became a protagonist. George is the crux upon everything Cryos Corporation was attempting, going back in time to prevent this traumatic event in his life, which apparently is up for debate some, because all of the signs in the show point to that event being the death of Hana, who is heavily implied to be his wife, even though the producers say no, even though the show kind of overwhelmingly says yes. Especially in the last episode when he shows up for the birth of her child. Late, albeit. But I mean, come on. The writing's on the wall. He appears about halfway through, but not even as the bad guy. He's just a guy following Hana around, giving her random flowers. He's fucking weird. And then we're like, oh, he's the bad guy. And then we get he's this weird dude who paints flowers just all the time. And we're like, okay, this guy's kind of off. Alright. But all of it just comes together so well by the end that he is one of my favorites. Personally, though, he doesn't get too involved with things other than being a creepy stalker. But his story and his presence overall in the series, past and future, are enough for me to put him in A. I just love him that much. What can I say? Let us jump to... Oh, I really should have redone that picture. Star Twinkle. Because we've actually got a fair bit for Star Twinkle here. Cappered. With the top of his head cut off here. I'm putting Cappered at A. Cappered rocked. Just right off the bat, he was a character. And then find out why he's xenophobic. Yeah, Star Twinkle was the racism series. He doesn't trust aliens because bee people stole all of the water off of his planet. And then he just, as it goes, he wants to be better, but at the same time, he can't bring himself to be trusting again. And there is great character conflict when he's with Star, and she's like, hey, come on, we don't have to fight. And you can see him struggling internally. And then he's just like, no, we can't. No, I'm your enemy. That's how it is. Cappered was so cool and just great overall. And what was it, the Halloween episode was when they really did his backstory? I loved that one. It was one of my favorite Star Twinkle episodes. I think it was a two-parter. But it was fantastic. Tinjo. Wasn't quite as strong, unfortunately. Cappered was the guy to focus on in Star Twinkle, and it kind of felt like he outperformed the other generals. Tinjo's backstory was good enough. She came from a race of Tengu people, but she didn't have the long nose, so she was shunned from society. And then she became a dominatrix. Okay. And then she pretended to be a teacher in one episode. She had the makings of it, but she never pushed as far as Cappered did. And I feel kind of bad putting her at C, but she didn't do enough to warrant hitting B. I will put Iwan at B. She was annoying as all hell, but she was a character, and she had a lot of play with Uni. Mostly because, you know, she petrified all the people on her planet. Oops, it happens sometimes. But she started off just being the annoying one, but then by the time we got to the end, she couldn't take it anymore and ran off on her own, and she even undid the she felt so bad about what she did, she wound up undoing the damage that she caused to Planet Rainbow. That's where she was from, right? Uni's cat people? It was Planet Rainbow? Yeah. And it was just great having those two characters on screen together. It was a very, like with Finale and our sister. It was fantastic. I loved those. Galogre was the second in command. Moving on. Galogre didn't do much of anything. He was the guy that others reported to because they were scared of talking to Darkness, because they thought he was going to kill them. And then Galogre was like, oh yeah, do your thing, here's a power-up. And then I think they fought him twice, like when the space police came in. That was a pretty cool episode. But he never got a whole lot himself. He was the one who revealed that the Not Raiders were all like outcasts and renegades from other worlds banding together. They were like MSF from Metal Gear, Soldiers Without Borders. It was that kind of thing, and Galogre's the one who really revealed that to us. Darkness, I'm gonna put it B right now. Again, I have to talk through her. Turns out Darkness is one of the Star Princesses, which came like right at the end and makes you go, wait, what? But, and it also fits reality, she is the Ophiuchus Star Princess, the 13th Zodiac that has fallen out of favor of use. The 13th Zodiac was the snake, and even now is very rarely used. We focus on the 12 Zodiac that we always focus on. I think there were only like a handful of groups that really use Ophiuchus, but I really liked that. And she was like, you all turned your backs on me, so I'm here to tear you down. She went out, she built up an army of just beings who were let loose from their own societies and said, "Oh, you damaged and weary souls, come unto me and we shall have our revenge." And that is exactly what she did. Darkness was great. I wouldn't say great in the same way that Joker or Close were. They were very personable antagonists that we dealt with regularly, Cappered, that kind of thing. She was more kind of like Goyon. Except we always knew she was the bad guy, but we didn't know who she was. She was this giant snake armor bad guy with a computer screen for a vase, for a vase, and had a voice synthesizer. But then she was like, psh, guess what? I think I'm actually going to bump her up to A. I really like the reveal of the Ophiuchus Star Princess being Darkness. And she kicked a fair bit of ass. So she's good in my book. Ooh, we're almost done. We're getting very, very recent now. To last year's Tropical Rouge. I don't have the servants in here because, frankly, they were barely bad guys. They were just told, Butler was just like, hey, go do this. And they're like, I got my own job to do. I gotta make dinner. And Butler's like, I said, go do this. And, okay. They were bad guys in the sense that they did bad guy things, but they weren't antagonists per se. Even when push came to shove at the end, they just followed orders. I should have included Butler, but frankly he didn't do anything until the very end, so he'd be a D. I do have the Witch of Delays, who I'm going to put at a solid B+. She didn't do jack crap, even at the end. And for all we could tell, she had no motivation. She had no character. She just laid there and went, and their butler was, yeah, we'll destroy the pretty cure, we'll do all that, haha, don't worry about it, I'm just a seahorse. But then we get to the end and we find out the truth, and it legitimately broke my heart. It really, truly did. She was the big, badass bad guy in the past. But she became friends well, she wasn't bad. She became friends with the girl who would become Cure Oasis. And then when she was like, hey, it's time to be a bad guy, she went to Rex shop, and there's Oasis, and they're fighting, and then she realizes, oh my god, this is the girl who is my friend now. My only friend is the one that I have to fight. So she left, and she just kind of put off ever going back to being the bad guy. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then eventually that even stopped. Butler just gave up asking. It was just... And it got to the point where she just didn't even know what she was putting off anymore. And that's tragic. Oh, I loved it, and it was so sad at the same time. It was... oh wow, I dropped a lot of frames at some point. I can't tell when I've got the window open. But that was... oh... She didn't do anything for 90% of the series. But that right there... When we find out that her not doing anything is her character, she's not just lazy. She's been putting off fighting her only friend for so long. She not only doesn't remember, but that girl's long dead. And that is her final straw. It's... That was an episode that really hit me. I was not expecting that from tropical bum ba dum ba dum bum 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 show. That that really hit hard, and I loved that. That was like the Goyon turnaround. We're like, what? He's really the bad guy. You're like, oh, that's why. Oh. And then you just feel bad. She was a bad antagonist, but a fantastic character, which I feel is good enough to put her at B. And now we are at the most recent Delicious Party. It took long enough. Well, Gentlu became... Well, she was Amine, who became Cure Finale, so she doesn't go on the list. Narcisteru. He was pretty dickish, but he also did a lot of work. I'm gonna put him at B. He was there for but he came in a little later. I believe he didn't really make his appearance until Gentlu was about to leave the Boondaloo gang. But Secretoru was always there. And I think he was just like kind of coming in at the end, like for the baton pass, if you will. But ever since then, he was actually working. He was fine-tuning the bento box of doom to try to make stronger monsters and figure out, oh, how can we get recipes better and all that. He was pretty great there. I loved his interactions with Finale afterwards. Again, she legitimately hated his guts. It was the premise of an entire episode. Especially after he got captured. Yeah, then he got captured and she's like, I don't know how I feel about him only being put in jail. It was less... He was good at what he did, but he also made an impact on the world around him and fueled the actions of other characters. And that's why I would put him at B. I mentioned Spiritoru before, the robot. He was kind of there for a little bit, then he wasn't, and he didn't do a whole lot. That's why he's not here. He's easily F. Because later on, he's just kind of in the background making the little robots. Secretoru, I'm also going to put at B. She's the ringleader for Godats. She's the one in charge. You, why aren't you doing your job? Hey, do your job. Blah, 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 da, da. You know what? I just gotta do it myself now. I'm gonna check Instagram and see what food we can steal this time. And her motivations... She just wanted to be better for Godats. I mean... It's a pure motivation. It's one of the purest motivations we've had for any of the antagonists, frankly. She just wanted to be there to help him. And again, I can respect that. She did her job well, she was there for a reason, and she was there like damn near the whole series. I'd put her at B. Godats is a little harder to place. I fear I may still be in a bit of a honeymoon phase with him. I'm gonna put him at B real quick while I think this over. He's at least B. So I mentioned it some during the Delicious Party discussion, but that's going to be a separate video on YouTube. Godats was Fennel, one of the Cook Kingdom Knights working with Rosemary and Cinnamon under their master, Ginger, who was a cat man. Anime! And what drove him to villainy was that Ginger had other apprentices. Fennel had single child syndrome. He did not want to share, which is kind of a piss poor reason to turn into a bad guy. But he also did being a bad guy pretty well. He framed Cinnamon and had him run out of the kingdom. And then didn't he... It was a year ago now. I'm trying to remember, did he assign Rosemary to come to our world? Or did the Cook King do that? Either way, he worked to keep Rosemary out of Cook Kingdom by just be like, hey, report to me when you get anything. Oh, okay, yeah, keep working over there. You keep doing your job over there in Oishina Town. I've totally got things over here. I'm not the bad guy, haha. And then behind the scenes, he was the bad guy the whole time. It was great. He even made his own special delicious stone to work in tandem with the half of the one he had. And he had a legitimately awesome final boss. What is... I don't care about junk mail. I really liked Godats, especially the turnaround that this character we've been with the whole time was really the bad guy. There was kind of the slightest hint of it with when they were like, oh, we've gotten our sister, he's going in jail. And Fennel just like puts him in jail. And then he just leaves him to sit there. He's not really punished or anything. And I was like, oh, that's kind of light on the guy who is totally messing up your kingdom. What's up with that, Fennel? But I guess also when all three of them go to jail, which I like that the bad guys went to prison in Delicious Party. They're all also kind of... It's not bad jail. It's more solitary than anything. I don't think I've got enough to bump Godats up to A. I really liked his reveal. And I liked his position in the world of the show. But in the end, he threw a child's tantrum and that turned him into a supervillain. And I can't really respect that. Not like... not like how I can respect the creation of Capard's ideals, even though it turned him into a bit of a racist. Don't mind that. But he had full reason to believe what he believed, and he was even conflicted about it. Fennel was just like, I want to be the one. I want to be the guy. Look at me. And that was pretty much what turned him into Godats. Yeah, I think he belongs at B. It's a solid B, but it's still B. And that's all the things that... The only other ones I have down here are me forgetting that these were going to be squares. So I've got, like, heads cut off of some of these. I was like, I have to do it again. I have to resize it. Yeah. So Again, there were a few on here that I forgot to make little things for. Like the Biogans, who belong in B for Biogan. The point is, Boonby is the best. Beats the rest. And that's the end of... No, but... I was trying to think, well, if I did another tier list, what would be good for it? I cannot bring myself to make one of these for all of the cures, because we are well over 100 of them. If not just over 100, there are over 100 of them. And I'm not making a thing for all of that. Yet. So I was like, what if I do the bad guys? There aren't too many of them per series, and I can even lump some of them in groups. Yeah, I like thinking about that. If you have any ideas for more lists, not 100 cures, put them in the comments below. Send it to me on, I don't know why I'm pointing over there at chat, on the Twitter, whatever. I did a ranking for, the series last year. Delicious Party, I would call... I'd put Delicious Party... B+. Again, it was fantastic, it was solid, but it never blew me away, unfortunately. Not like Hugto or Princess, where I was just like, whoa, holy hell! What do you mean he's from the future? 'Cause the main character died. We didn't... Delicious Party did a good job, but it didn't push hard enough, it feels like. And I feel a little bad saying that, but I can't quite give it the A. Because even though I like the reveal of Fennel as Godats, it didn't have that same oomph that, like, the Goyon reveal did. That it wasn't... It was a oh moment, but it wasn't an elevating moment. If that makes any sense. And I suppose all that's left to do is wait for Hirogaru Sky. Yeah, that starts this Sunday. I might do... Oh, today's Wednesday. We've got the stream on Friday, which is going to be before the premiere. I might just do a little segment for it, not this week's stream, but next week's stream. At the opening, where I talk about episode 1, Phantom Menace. And then the first episode of Hirogaru Sky. Just like initial impressions kind of thing. I think I did that for Delicious Party, too. I don't recall. Again, that was a year ago. Yeah. I believe that will be that. I hope you tier list fans got what you wanted out of that. And let me know your differences. I love talking to you guys about this. I always look for, when I see the little notification up there, I'm like, well, it could either be a new follower, yay, or a subscriber for YouTube. At which point I'm like, yay, thanks, da, 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 whoever you are. I'm like, it's either that, or it's a comment on the Pretty Cure tier list. And I look forward to getting those. I had planned to do the Max Heart DS beat 'em up game. I had not planned for it to already be 11:45. My throat's also sore from all this talking. I hate to do it. I think I'll just call it here. That list took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I will do some of the game. Can I reach the case from here? I have it. My seat is all kinds of jacked up. Can I? Come to me! Come to me! Thank you. Yeah. I've got a physical copy. Max Heart Danzen DS de Purikua Chikura Wasate de Dai Bataru. It's a beat 'em up, kind of like Streets of Rage, but not as involved for the DS. I enjoy it. That's why I was going to play it tonight, but we're kind of out of time. I may... I'll probably do a little bit of it next week. We're kind of getting... We're like 2/3 of the... More than that. Like 70% of the way through Kingdom Hearts right now. And we're about to get to... We're starting Neverland next. So we're getting to where things really pick up soon. I'm probably going to do a little bit of this. Either before or after Neverland. I don't want to start it after we get to Hollow Bastion, because that's where things really pick up. I also don't know how much of this I'd play total. If I want to make it a full thing, or... I don't think I've ever played through it entirely. 2005. Good God. Even got the booklet. That's a thing that doesn't exist anymore. Booklets. Oh, Lord. Yeah. We'll see. But I definitely want to play at least a little bit of it. And who knows, maybe it'll be like that GBA one I played last year, where I played it to be a one-off as a pack in like with other Pretty Cure games, but then it turned into a full playthrough. It might end up being that. We'll see. But let's just wrap up for now. Let me see who is on.